Like your top.
Good morning, Krista. I've got pamphlets right here, workbooks, and then breakfast in the back. If you want anything, there's bagels in the kitchen. Good morning, Krista. I've got pamphlets right here, workbooks, and then breakfast in the back. If you want anything, there's bagels. I'm repeating myself. Good morning, Krista. I've got pamphlets right here, workbooks, and then all right, breakfast in the back. If you want anything, there's bagels. I'm repeating myself. Perfect.
Oh, the guy sent you text. That's how people respond.
Okay.
Good morning, Jessica. How are you? Doing good. No, all you. All right, give me 1 second. We'll get started here. What's that?
What we're gonna do next time? What's that? We're gonna run one of these cameras up here. Facing it.
Yeah.
I need a camera first. Right?
I think you just found one.
No.
Aww. Hey, Carl. What was your name again?
Giovanni.
I'm gonna start it with a J. Yes.
Yeah, that was like, was it fun?
It was okay.
At least the.
Those we see. I'm a radio fan. I can care
Oh, so it
less.
wouldn't matter.
Yeah, but it was still fun to see. No, it was actually early, 4 o'clock.
That's early. Like one at night, like
Yeah.
after midnight,
No, yeah.
like right after lunch. Oh, that's
You're exhausted from something in the
Well,
afternoon.
see,
I was like, I see zero.
I had gone out the night before for a friend's birthday.
So you were already
4 in the
hungover.
morning. Yes, exactly.
You had an insult to injury.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Then I had a showing after. Then I had dinner for my wife.
You're still recovering.
Exactly.
This.
So you know what? As rare as weekends are for us, when we get one.
Exactly.
I know, that scares me when they.
I know this chair is like a
There's a
little too
lever, I
much.
think you
You
can.
can, I think you push it. It's so loud.
Yeah, you can lock it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we've met in person. I've seen you on Zoom.
Last week, so the last week.
Yeah, you push it.
You're.
I administration side here.
Oh, cool.
All right, we have breakfast. If you guys want breakfast here, and we got bagels in the kitchen too.
Spit it up.
All right. For those of you guys at home, I'm going to send you all an email with the workbook. Who is iPhone?
We have, yes.
Hello.
That's probably,
Okay.
I got a new phone, so. I
Right.
don't think it's something new.
Give me 1 second and I'm sending these out.
Yeah.
Do you know where it is? Where is it again?
It's always a book.
Vegas.
It's in Vegas. I've never gone.
It's fun.
Hey, Sally,
Yes,
can you send me your email address?
You get to see Jeff.
I just texted it to you.
Oh,
Oh,
that was fun, right?
That's the best part about
What happened?
Just like, what?
Vegas.
it. Hey, I gave no specifics. I just said in where.
didn't get it yet.
Okay, I'll email it.
Right?
In normal form.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said in Mario in normal form.
They're
Right.
one step away from children's stores from Vegas.
Oh, that's all right. It was all
Trying to
legal,
Convince me to go.
It's fun.
which isn't saying much.
How much did it cost, like, to do the whole thing?
Don't remember. I read the report for it. I guess that was cheap. It was a nice little hotel. I mean,
All right, everyone at home, I've emailed out the workbook. Sally, I'm still waiting on your email address. So when you get that, if you could send that to me, that'd be great.
Maybe in Vegas, I wouldn't live it out there, so.
All right, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and get started. All righty. So here's how this is gonna work. We have a workbook that y'all have on you. Yep, right here. So I'm gonna go through the slide deck. Slide deck kind of lines up with the workbook, but this is a working class. So make sure you guys, do you have a pen? Everyone have a pen?
No.
Got like 4 pens. Okay, so what we're gonna work on is actually filling out this workbook throughout the class. So let's hop in here now. So agenda for you today. So first thing, future of the business, right? We're gonna look a little bit kind of going forward. It's been interesting. We were coming like full force into 2020 with the real estate business, and then COVID hit, and then it just took it to a whole nother level. Good and bad, right? I think we picked up some bad habits, but also on the backside, the outside world has been watching and making moves that I think shortly we're going to see the effects of those, some good, some bad. We're going to work on a SWOT analysis. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. This is kind of an old school analysis. But what we find is it's a healthy one to get your mind thinking about current state and future state. And then number 3, we're going to get into some personal goal setting and some whys, right? Because at the end of the day, like, why do we do this? You know, and I hear all the time, like, well, for the money. Well, money in and of itself doesn't do anything. It's what you do with the money, right? And you're earning money and being away from your family, being away from the things you love to do for a reason and you want to reinvest back in that. So it's good to understand kind of why you're doing things. Number 4, we're going to do a recap of 2021. It's critical to understand what worked in 2021, what didn't work, and then what do we want to do going forward into 2022. And then 5, we're going to do an idea funnel. So almost like our brainstorming that we've done in the past, where we just take this we take all of these ideas, but what we're going to do is we're going to kind of, in like a funnel, bring it all down into and boil it down into what's important, what can we do, and what's actionable. 6, we're going to actually set a goal for 2022. And you'll see we've got your front page is going to have that goal set on it so that every time you look at this, you're going to understand what your goal is. And then 7, the most important aspect is this class is a complete waste of time if you aren't going to put it into action, right? And the problem we have is we have all these great ideas, we get fired up at a seminar, at a class, and then how do you connect the dots falls apart. Tomorrow when you're freaking out over a termite problem, you've got a client who's got an issue, and then all of a sudden the joy of the business goes away with the day-to-day. So I'm going to give you basically what is a template for your business. All right, let's dive in here. Future of real estate. So this chart shows the 1%, 5%, 10%, 25% is the percentage of agents who are doing that business. So really what we're finding is this stratification of the business. You know, we talk about this, I think it's Parallel's law, right? Like the 80-20 rule. And it's very true in real estate. What we're finding is that 25% of the top agents are doing 75% of the business right now. With the number of real estate agents swelling in the US, I think we're going to be somewhere over 1.8 million real estate agents next year. It is creating a lot of competition for the 25% of the business that's left, right? So it's really critical that you guys put yourself in a position that you are in that top 25, top 10%, and you make plans to make sure you're in there, because the way things have been, sometimes people can have some blind success. I just don't think that that's going to be the trend going forward. This is, some questions. Where do you guys rank? There's 8,000 real estate agents who call Montgomery County home for offices. Where do you rank it? You guys know where you guys? So this is something we can sit down and go through and look at. But you want to have a kind of an understanding. Am I doing great compared to my peers, or am I not? I tell you, for the most part, we do a lot of recruiting, Heather and I do, and we look at a lot of offices. Most offices, there's a upper echelon of agents who do good business. And then pretty much there's about 80% of the office that's fighting over 1 to 3 transactions.
What do you notice, like the level that you consider doing good business?
I would say if you're, in Montgomery County, if you're doing at least a transaction a month, I'd say you kind of bump yourself into that top 50%. If you're doing 2 transactions a month, you're in the top 20%. Which is funny because whenever I do business planning with people, like everyone says, how many transactions do you want to do a month? 2, right? Like that's just like the like knee-jerk reaction, but that's actually really hard to do in this marketplace. It's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination, but a lot of agents don't do it. But a lot of people have it as a goal. So we're going to work on how do we get there, if that is what you want to do. And a lot of that is like question 4, what decisions do I need to make, right? If you want to bump your rating up, if you want to improve your business, you got to make some decisions and stick to them. And I pulled a lot of these slides from Tom Ferry's blueprint. And again, a lot of that is he's in the marketplace talking to agents, what's going on, what's scaring them, what are they thinking about? And one of them is, what we do when Zillow, Redfin, Quicken opens up a real estate office next to yours, right? Like what would your business model look like? Would you completely fold because it's just, there's no way you can compete? Or do you have a business model that'll stand up to this? Because this stuff's coming down the pike. There is a ton of money for Quicken in the loan market. There is for them, they can sell loans, they can sell insurance. that sometimes giving away the real estate transaction to get the loan, to get the insurance is going to be more critical. Same thing, Zillow, Redfin. These people are banging at our doors, that if it comes down to cost, what's your value proposition if you're not going to be able to compete with them on cost? So this is a, we talked about, this is one of the mantras that we talked about, like growing, right? During COVID, it was one of these things like, at some point you just got to kind of leave it all behind and just keep growing. But it's another analogy for a lot of folks, like with boats, we talk about, the tide rises all boats. And I think there's some folks out there who've had some great years the last 2 years. And I think if there is a market shift, I'm not 100% sure they're going to be ready for that market shift, because what's coming is going to be, I think, some disruption in our business. And I'm not here to kind of scare you guys out of the business, obviously, but more scare you into the business to, focus. Because again, I looked at COVID. COVID did so many different things. And it was almost like when I talked to some agents post crash, where they picked up almost not some bad habits, but they weren't as diligent as they were. They got off schedule, right? And I think a lot of us got off schedule the last 2 years. Some of it was, if you have kids, your kids weren't going to school on a regular and consistent basis. Therefore, you're waking up an hour earlier or later. There's, wine was the drink of choice. And not that that's a bad thing, but it was just, things were different. And now it's kind of getting back to focused on how we grow our business. Any questions about these last slides? All right. So a couple models. So the old model used to be 80 to 90% of the business was controlled by real estate agents, right? You had to come through real estate agents. There was always a group of FSBOs, and then there was wholesalers, investors in the marketplace. About 5-10 years ago, we started predicting this iBuyer movement, right? That there was going to be another level of investors hopping in here, buying up inventory. But what we found, and kind of what people are predicting going forward, is really with what they call prop tech, real estate technology companies, that referral fee model is a great one, right? I'm a tech company. I can invest in engineers and salespeople and basically build a product that will generate leads, and then I can sell those leads to real estate agents. I don't have to carry insurance to drive people around. I don't have to put gas in my car to drive people around. I don't have to deal with licensing. I don't have to deal with people. I just have to build a machine that will generate leads. It's highly profitable, and real estate agents will pay good money for those leads. So there is a lot of money being funneled into this prop tech, where a lot of the models are going to be looking at referral fee models. We have them already. UpNest, Nextdoor, Zillow is going for a referral fee model. So that's compressing the direct to agent, right? The agent generated business with no referral fee, that's being compressed right now. So there are some agents who, again, we do a lot of recruiting, and there's some agents who I can't pop them out of some companies because they get all their business from relocation, right? But they get so little on that relocation business that they rely on the relocation business because that's their next source of business. It's almost like a dog chasing its tail. It's, I have a buddy who started a check cashing business, and it's the same kind of thing where you're constantly giving away so much of a portion of your income that you are reliant the next time you need to go back to them because you need that income. So it's kind of a vicious cycle over on that green side. We don't want to be there. All right, let's shift gears. So second page of your booklet. Ellen, do you have a booklet? Don't fill out the first page yet. Shit. Yep. That's all right. We've got more. Okay. Strengths.
To go to page 2 without filling out page 1.
Yeah.
My OCD kicks in.
Yes. What did I miss? So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So strengths and weaknesses are your current state in the business. What are you good at? What are you weak at? Right? What do you suck at? Right? And then opportunities and threats. Opportunities are future state. What do you see as almost maybe even a wish list? Man, if I could only do this. I see, let's say there is someone in your neighborhood who's, they're retiring out of the business. That's going to be a great place to go after. What's a threat? There is someone who is constantly in my marketplace, and I would love to slay that dragon. So let's do this. Let's take 3 minutes and let's go through your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Yep.
It just says EDI. Okay. Oh, yes, maybe I should read it. That's a new skill.
Yeah.
Weakness, not reading.
Got about a minute. All righty. Everyone get a chance to do that? Okay. Anyone want to share a strength or weakness?
One of my weaknesses is I don't, even though I'm a social person, I don't like going to social events and talking about myself or business or. whatever.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
Yeah, that you like to. You're the opposite, you like to do it too much. Too many times, too many.
Yeah. All right. Oh, I don't know you. All right. All right. Anyone else want to share? Yeah.
Turning warm leads into sales.
Okay.
Is one of my strengths.
Awesome. Okay. Very cool. Anyone else?
My weakness, time management.
Okay.
What'd you say?
Time management.
Oh, yeah. Is that a strength or a weakness?
Well, that's my weakness. My downfall.
All right, opportunities and threats. Anyone have any in their crystal ball?
Okay, we were supposed to do the third page. Thought we were still on page two.
I did too. No, you're not alone.
All right.
I can do that.
Opportunities, I see us, more meeting for accounts for other parts of the country, but also commercial.
Yeah.
I see a lot of our businesses coming to market as people language side, that's it, none. Sell off their real estate, alter business, what it is, real estate.
Yeah.
Business is not gonna be- not gonna be civil- business.
That's awesome. I love that. Other opportunities or threats, kind of crystal ball in it.
I didn't write it down because I didn't know we were doing that page, but threats I see, especially in, well, not especially, I'm sure it's everywhere, but because Peter and I work primarily in this only Brookville area, is just seeing so many more listing agents coming in and listing homes that aren't necessarily familiar with the market and pricing things incorrectly, but you know, it takes a while for the sellers for light bulbs to go off.
Yep.
So I guess that's probably a threat everywhere is people reaching out more and more because they're more worried about that. So, you know, my cousin's gonna give me a low commission or, you know, and it kind of messes with our local markets a little bit.
You know, and it's that you know, the two salespeople go to South Africa and you know, they're shoe salespeople, and one guy reports back like, oh my gosh, no one wears shoes here. The other guy reports back like, no one wears shoes here, right? Like, so some of that's like, we're getting disrupted in our marketplace, and is there a chance to disrupt other people in their marketplace too? And sometimes ways thinking about that. But yeah, that's definitely valid. Other crystal ball things?
Only third I have is myself. I mean, this is true. I feel like I sabotage myself, so
Okay,
it's like, you can't get past yourself, that's it.
right on.
It's hard to be consistent
It
and
is.
implement things.
Yeah.
And have a life.
Yeah.
With kids and everything.
Yep.
A life, who wants
Do
a
you?
life?
You do.
Okay, so, and that's a really good segue, because what are we building, right? Like, and part of this is, you know, getting into, you all are entrepreneurs, you own your own business, and there are lots of pluses and minuses that go with that, but you control pretty much how and what you want to do. You know, there is no Remax boss telling you what, for good or bad, what you have to do every day, or what you can't do. So, and this gets in, and I saw this quote, and it rings very true, that life punishes the vague wisher and rewards those with a specific ask. And I know you all want the right things. I know you guys want to do the right things, and you want the best for yourself and for your family. But that gets lost in translation when it comes to what do we have to do on a day-to-day basis to drive revenue into our businesses. So, and I go old school, like you'll see this business planning is basically kind of like a Frankenstein, for lack of a better word, of different coaches. Buffini nails it with his 5 circles. And it's really important to understand, you know, your life is made up of more than just one aspect, right? It is these 5 concentric circles of your, you know, finance, your family and relationships, spirituality, personal and health, and then your business. So let's take about 5 minutes. And what I want to do is, let's look at things that we want to, and this is, sorry, GOL.
I think I got it. Good.
This page. Let's write down some, anywhere from 1 to 5 goals in each of these 5 categories. and try to be as specific as possible. So for instance, like financial, right? Like, I want to save more money. Well, tell me, how much do you want in your savings account at the end of 2022, right? Family, I want to be a better spouse, right? How does that manifest itself, right? Like, is it a date night, once a week? Is it taking a trip to the Poconos one weekend, right, with your spouse? Spirituality, I'll leave that up to you guys, but that can also be reading, right? That can be what you're absorbing. It may be taking a seminar that you've always wanted to take about yoga, right? Personal health, right? I know we all want to lose weight, but what's that weight? And then what are you potentially going to do to get to that? And then business, we're going to really delve into that one. So that one, if you were going to spend the next 5 minutes on anything, I'd say the top 4, spend your most time on. So we'll take about 5 minutes and go through this.
I just rather go somewhere warm. Exactly.
Yeah. Are you going? There's a lot of me that would like to.
All right, got about 30 seconds and we'll wrap up your ideas. right, pencils down. Anyone bold enough they want to share any of these?
Which one do you want?
Whichever one.
Want to start reading a book a month.
Okay.
Go to mass on Sundays. Definitely don't go. I want to learn about NFTs.
About what?
NFTs, non-fungible, whatever tokens
Uh-huh.
they're called. It's like the new crypto thing going on.
Okay.
Start learning and invest more into that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. And with that, and I'm gonna tip in here. It's your goals. Just make sure, like with the NFTs, like what's the next step you need to do to learn more information?
Yeah.
You know, make sure that that's like start kind of drill down a little bit, like that you can almost actually, if it's something that can be put onto a calendar, then it's legit. Until then, it stays a little wish listed, you know. Anyone else want to share any?
I want to get more consistent about when my checks come in, where all that goes.
Very cool.
And I've been much better this year about setting aside everything for taxes, so I'm not surprised, because I have been for a few years now. But not as good still about going deeper and putting, okay, that automatically is going in my retirement, and that, and then I'm paying myself this, and really having a breakdown percentage of what that's gonna look like.
When we get to the financial part, we're gonna start giving you some good ideas on that. Do you have an LLC? Okay. All right. I'm joking, totally joking. But that's something we're gonna get into. Step number one,
I'm
right?
worried about taxes this week.
Anyone else want to share anything?
I would share a lot. In the crowd here. Again, so you gotta do that. You gotta do that. You gotta run. Yeah. Financial every month, you gotta know where your money goes, and you gotta put it away. There's nothing that beats the power of compounding.
I mean, I've been so much better this year, but I could be so much.
And when that, that the end of the year, we gotta pay your quarterly, and you gotta set up your next one, it's like, who's next,
Yeah.
You do it regularly every month. Think, oh, no money.
Yeah.
And if you do it, it just makes your life so.
And I got QuickBooks finally.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just shows you right there in these little letters what you need to have for your,
It doesn't have to be some expensive,
yeah.
big program or account.
And so I see that big number every time I log on, like and it tracks your miles for you and everything. That's great.
Yep. Yeah, Jessica.
So I do really well when I'm ultra organized.
Okay.
And so I've been a big, really into like Dave Ramsey, like becoming debt free beside the mortgage, and Marie Kondo, like trying to organize the
Yes.
house. So my goal is like I'm working on those two things. a lot
Okay. Yeah.
these days.
Okay. Yeah, and sometimes it's like for some, it could, like with Marie Kondo, sometimes just tackling one drawer.
Yeah.
Right? Like don't overcomplicate it. Because again, if you can do some little things, it just helps you, everything becomes easier. When I've got to do the whole kitchen, I'm not gonna invest 5 hours this weekend doing that. That's great.
That's what we do, believe it or not.
Yeah.
All these years, we're in the office.
Just throw them in there.
Yeah, he sorts them out. My husband doesn't know something, but, so like, all right, where's that receipt? Where's that? Mom was like, where's the IRS? No, I said, the day you get your break, don't, really. But I just throw it in there, and then I know exactly what I spent on it. It's right there, every month.
Yep.
So it's really life changing. We started that like 10 years ago, I guess, and, because I was doing it myself. It's just a good habit.
We used to, our whole everything was geared toward tuition. Tuition. We have one tuition payment left, which is already in the bank, end of our 529. And so in some ways it's awesome, but trying to figure out our new why.
Hmm.
And, retirement, yes, of course, but honestly, retirement savings is boring and it's something we've incorporated for so long anyway. It's not a new thought, but so anyway, I need to do,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe lavish weddings for my kids.
Yes.
Or,
How
help
many
me.
vacations a year do you want?
I mean, even that, that's always, well, because we've been budgeted for our whole married life, 30 years.
Yeah.
So we've always sort of had that set aside as well, but, or, helping our own kids actually with the down payment for a house. Not that they really, especially one of them doesn't want us to do that. That's the other, he's doing it on his own. Anyway, we're a little lost with that. Yeah.
Their financial planner.
Yeah. And I'm not going to give tax advice today. I wouldn't do that. But a lot of this is starting to, like Ellen said, talking to a financial planner, talking to some tax, getting some good professional advice. When I talk to real estate agents and they tell me, well, we don't have an accountant, or we're using such and such, I'm always a little like, I think it's one of those things. Our business is very complex and we have a lot of opportunities too with our business, that it's good to get really good financial advice. So kind of going back to this, what I find is that, and Ellen, did you want to share anything?
Other than financial planner, I'll tell you,
Yeah.
go to the financial planner, one of the things they do is they have you and your spouse sit down, set things up, fill out forms, right? That's how they tell who you are. Because usually those don't match.
Yep.
Everybody has a different strategy.
100%.
It's like, what? No. And then they bring them together, it's sort of like counseling. And then they chart it all, and they show you what your picture looks like, and what his picture looks like, and then they put it together. It is so worth the money.
Yeah, and they say, like for those of you all who are married or been married or going to be married again, you don't have marriage problems. Marriage isn't the problem. It's we have our own problems that we bring into relationships. And that's something that you just have to almost acknowledge. And the more you can work with your partner on kind of laying out, because there's some families who, their parents like went out and they just bought something big and that was their, like I just put myself in big debt. Now I got to work really hard to pay off the debt. Other people were never spent a dime ever. Right. And then, and just kind of starved themselves of any, and sometimes shunned opportunity because of that. Because they were so risk adverse. And it's good to get that out, because sometimes what happens is we get into financial issues and financial disagreements when it's just we need to lay it out. And I think having sometimes a third party help you with that. And one thing with this is when you get a chance, write out your goals. And if you want to scratch this out, do it again and get a little more specific, post it somewhere, share it with somebody, share it with one of your loved ones, share it with your kids, let them know what your goals are. I'll tell you, first time you do this, they might be like, yeah, Dad, we've seen this before, right? We've heard this talk before. And they sometimes might be your biggest detractors initially, right? And they don't mean to, they love you. But sometimes it's, they're real, they're raw, right? And you need to share it with them to kind of create some accountability that they know you. But definitely this is something like I'll put this on my bathroom wall, right? Something I see every day, just to remind myself, because you got to stay on track. And that's the hard thing for most of us, is just, we know what we want to do. It's just being reminded of those things. Okay. Anything else with these 5 circles? All righty. Okay. So now let's dive kind of back into planning. So I gave you guys some homework. And what that is that's kind of the big first step in your business plan, is figuring out, success leaves clues. What worked in 2021? Basically that's going to be, how do we build on our successes in 2021? Then we're going to look at, where do we want to take it going forward into 2022? And as a result of where do you want to take it in 2022, what I find is typically, here's where I was in 2021. I want to take it up, let's say another 10 transactions in 2022. Part 3 is, to do that, you're either going to have to do one or all 3 things. Add something into your business that you don't already have. improve something you're already doing, making it better. Or number three, leverage, meaning you, let's say, bring someone into your team, into your group that adds more transactions or adds another income generating aspect. And then four is going to be, how do you synthesize that into actionable steps? So we're going to go straight through 1 through 4 to really kind of give you at the end of this some really good ideas on what we want to do going forward into 2022, and then some ways to implement it. All right, recap of 2021. This out of the way. Okay. You guys filled this out ahead of time? Yes, no?
Yes, I did.
Anyone not fill it out?
Well, it's weird. You have
Okay.
different questions on here. That you don't know.
What's that?
You have different questions.
Yeah, I changed up the last, the last ones. So number one, and again, no judging, it just is what it is. What, your GCI, gross income for 2021. And I actually have sheets in the back. If you don't know how to gather that information, the dashboard, there's a little pie shaped triangle, pie piece. That if you pull that down, it'll pull all of your commission income, expenses, transaction reports, if you want to pull those. It's always good. I say this time of year, look at that for a couple things. Number one, for this planning purpose. Number two, some listing agents, they put their team member in as the buyer's agent. They did something inaccurate, maybe by mistake, maybe not. But it's good to make sure that you're getting credit in Bright for all of your transactions. Number two, what were your year-to-date business expenses? This is something that we want to track, because as your income grows, your expenses should grow too, right? And in theory, sometimes if your income goes down, your expenses should come down. But then we want to be critical about where we're spending the money, because it's not what you make, it's what you keep, right? So we want to make sure we're doing a good job on our expenses and running a profitable business. Number three, listings taken, year-to-date listings sold, right? Because those two can be different numbers. Your sales, and then pending sales and active sales, active listings. And this is a really good time. It's nice to bring some business into the new year, right? It starts the new year off right. And when we were doing this business planning, we really had to rush to kind of get it launched now, because if I waited any longer, it's just hard. I find that December just gets lost in the shuffle. And we really got to almost jumpstart again in January. And we're going to do some things in January to help. But it's really good to kind of get a lot of these ideas out. But to that end, it's always good to have some things going into the new year, keeps you focused on the business. Understanding what your commission rate is, and then average sales price. Do you have a contact data database? Everyone should say yes. And then what do you use? And then number of people in your database. It's good to understand what these numbers are. And then 6. And this was not, and I had a question, do you see your business rising, falling, or staying the same? And this is kind of a different way of asking is, how did you rate your performance in 2021? Anyone want to throw in? Okay. Yeah, I'd give myself a 6. I definitely, there's a lot of things I left on the table, and a lot of it wasn't planned out.
2020 or
2021.
8, because 2020 so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think given the challenges we've had, like a lot of people did really well balanced. Like, I know, like my situation, I'm happy I got through what I got through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, It was
Yep.
rough these past 2 years for me, and I had my best years.
Yeah.
But, like, I was basically balancing kids all summer, those summers.
Yep.
At home
Yep.
while I was working.
Yes.
It was insane.
You know, they say, if you want to get something done, ask the business person.
Yeah. I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
You
I feel
know,
like staying motivated was the hardest part.
I had kind of a revelation the other morning. I'd sort of been working in panic mode. And then all of a sudden it was like, and literally all of a sudden I feel like some of the things that I put into place in terms of mailings, social media are finally, the people are finally calling me, asking me as a realtor, hey, can you help me with this or that, or I have a lead for you, all of a sudden. And I just thought, if I can be more consistent and less panicked, like I need to have that kind of change of mindset, like it's okay,
Just took the right thing.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally just told her, I was like, oh, I was like, she's like, where's that coming from? I was just like, I don't know, I was like, I feel like I worry so much about that next paycheck that I'm not taking the moment to just, appreciate what we have.
Yep.
It's just like consistency is what exactly.
Yeah.
So the other thing, 7, what marketing worked in 2021 out of your marketing plan?
Social media.
Okay. What specifically though?
I mean, I think just posting as much as possible. And I feel like I don't even do it enough. Like, I think Mario does a great job at it. I don't do it enough, but I still, like, I have people reach out to me, like, hey, I'm trying to buy a house. I don't even have to search for it. It's just posting, but they reach out to me because they see I'm actually doing business. So they're like,
Yep.
that's it.
And like, for those of you who coach with me, like the most annoying thing that I do is I keep asking this question over and over again as though like, well, what does that mean? Right? Like, because what can be measured can be improved, right? And that's where we need to start as much as you can try to
Number of
elaborate,
things, yeah.
like how many times did you post, right? Because posting a lot for some people, maybe like once a month, right? Other people, it's like 10 times a day. And so if you know what worked, and then at that point, well, what if I posted twice a week as opposed to once a week, right? Does that change anything, right? So that's where it's really looking at some of these things, like what you actually did. How did I improve my tech systems and processes? Anyone? Yep.
Along these lines, I
Yep.
have to say thank you because those posts that you guys do really validate how well we do it so much.
Cool.
Like they see me as $1 million listing, $1 million
Yep.
agent so many months out of the year. They're like, wow, like the social media helps me a lot.
Okay.
It really does. And having it come from you guys is awesome.
It's good feedback.
Yeah, it really helps.
Well, if you didn't do the business, we wouldn't have anything post. So good,
Well,
good on
there's
you
that,
too.
but-
So, all right. So how did I improve any of my systems, processes, or technology? Right. It's good to kind of do a little bit of an analysis. Was there anything that you did differently in 21 that worked, that was process driven, system driven? Did you implement anything new? And then 9, was there anything you did with your sphere? Like, was there anything I did to improve my sphere connections in 21? Did I finally host that client event party? Did I finally start doing a couple pop buys? And, because sometimes what happens, like all the, we do some things, we have some great success, but then it's like, move on, right? Like the next transaction, the next, we sometimes forget about some of the great things. And to Krista's point, right? Like you did some work, you don't see that in that like immediate impact of it, right? Until sometimes 6 months later, right? And then it's, that's when you needed that reinforcement of what you did 6 months before, but the distance was so far apart that you sometimes forget. So it's really good to go back and look through what really did work. What were some things I tried new that potentially worked? Okay. So and I asked you guys print out your 2021 listings and sales. Did you guys get a chance to do that? Okay, excellent. It's super easy through Bright. You guys know how to do it through Bright? Can I show you guys, for those who are All right. All right, so through Bright, you can go to Market tab, Agent Office Production, and then Agent Production Report. Then this will pull your listings and sales through Bright, what they've got. Another way into the RRC dashboard. Here's this pie piece. And then you can do transaction production. And then that'll give you some time frames, and then you just put in the time frames. So
Brian, you did market, then what?
yeah, so Bright, I went to Market, Agent Office Production, and then you can do either one of these, Agent Production Report or Agent Awards Report. Okay. Yep. Yes. Yep.
Great idea.
All right, so again, recapping 21, sometimes what happens, and I'll do this with agents, ask you to pull your report, you bring it in, and it's like, I do all my business by sphere, right? Which is mostly true for most of our agents. But it's good to start digging in because there's going to be some tweaks we're going to start looking at making in our business that drive referrals or drive past clients or drive sphere. And really our sphere of influence is broken up into 4 categories. Your sphere of influence, which are people who may never have done a transaction with you. Your past clients. These are people who've done business with you, but you know, they're probably not on your Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving invite list. Referrals from your sphere and referrals from your past clients. So there's really 4 components to what we sometimes say is our sphere. So as you're breaking down your numbers from 2021, it's important to it's important to go down that detail. Other things that typically show up in your book of business is going to be agent to agent referrals, right? Ellen, you've got that in yours. Other leads that were nurtured, that you met someone at an open house like 5 years ago. It really wasn't the open house that generated the lead that closed this year. It was really the nurturing that I did, right? So that you give it almost a different category. Geographic farms, right? For those of you, I'm going to give you a hug. I haven't seen you for that. Okay.
She's too busy being a grandma.
They're so cute, Heather.
Oh, love it.
And this is taking it to another level, like people who've watched my videos, right? Buyers and sellers connect to me directly through, I see your stuff everywhere kind of people. Other people who came through your Google business profile, people came from your traditional open house, expired, withdrawn, canceled listings. Some people who are running Google service ads, people who came from reviews, circle dialing, right? Circle prospecting. Mario does a great job at that. Just listed cards, non-owner occupants, networking, and then online referral sources, Zillow, Realtor, right? So I'm throwing out a couple of these things that maybe you have in your business, maybe you don't have, maybe you're going to start implementing. But it's always good to make sure that, from a coaching point of view, there's an old adage like, look, if you're getting 100% of your listing appointments, you're doing something wrong, right? Usually means that you're not stretching out a little bit, right? Like you should lose a couple potentially, right? Like never like to lose them, but you also want to make sure that you're stretching and you're that third agent who got the call, right? And you may have just by the skin of your teeth lost it, but man, it was nice to actually have an opportunity that was outside of your sphere. All right. So what are we building in 2022 and beyond, right? And what we want to do is build our house with bricks, not with straw, right? Because right now there's a lot of folks out in the marketplace who, they've gotten their aunt's listing, they've got a straw business. When things change, they're not going to be very successful and they're going to struggle in this marketplace. And we just don't want you guys to be one of those. And there's people who, they've built it with wood, right? And it's still going to not withstand a lot of the pressures in the marketplace. So we're going to work on building it with brick. So at this point, this is where I've gone on to the marketing idea funnel. So what I want to do is, and I was trying to figure out the best way to do this. So if you look at these, and these are suggestions, and you can add to this list as well. But what I'd say is next to the ones that you're doing, I'd put a D next to, right? You're already doing these things. If there's things that you want to do or will do, let's put a W next to it. So we kind of go through this list and look at, maybe there's some things that, oh, I do that all the time, right? We want to make sure we build it into the 22 plan. Or there's some things like, shoot, I've never done that. If I only knew how, I'd definitely do it next year. And I think it would help me grow my business. So D for things you're doing, W for things that you want to do. And then look, you don't have to do everything, right? So if there's things you don't want to do in here, don't check them off or label them. But we talk about like email newsletters, right? Like we've done, like through Booz, we've done a couple classes. Anyone here doing email newsletters? Yeah. Yep. So there.
And what I love about it is
Yep.
art is a little bit about house ready for sale.
And so what a lot of folks with the email newsletter, like if you asked me about email newsletters 3 years ago, I'd say like, don't waste your time. They're worthless. We're finding a lot more success with email newsletters nowadays. If, to Ellen's point, you've got some real, like if it's super generic, you're not going to get a lot. You're actually going to turn people off. If it's just, top 5, leaf blowing tips, right? Like there's things like I always look at, like if I can Google it and I can find a lot of answers there, I don't think my newsletter is going to provide a lot of great insight. So that's where some people are actually taking their email newsletter and it is a best of, right? The best posts I've done this month, right? I'm going to kind of glean those things and put those into my newsletter, where you almost take some content that's gotten some traction, and you'll see that with a lot of really good marketing companies, is that the marketing kind of goes across the board, right? You'll see an ad on TV, you'll see it on Facebook, and you'll get an email from it.
Mine has a social calendar on the bottom, so if you want to see what's happening this weekend.
Yep.
You go in there and put like, 2 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles.
Oh, cool.
Whatever, so that people kind of custom to know what they're now. What's going on.
Yep.
I can see it there.
Okay.
You need to know that that feels like out there, as long as they think they something.
Yeah. So kind of a new email newsletters are definitely those that are good and sticky, are getting some good traction for folks. Mailed newsletters. Anyone doing mailed newsletters? Okay.
Yeah.
Popeyes. Okay. Yeah. And again, with COVID, Popeyes became kind of in lieu of events, Popeyes became the event at your front doorstep. Happy hours, client appreciation parties, seminars, right? Like one of the things that, Zoom has helped us with is potentially doing better seminars, right? And where you don't have to book out a fancy restaurant, hope that, 3 people show up, eat 17 steak dinners by yourself over the next 3 weeks. CDs in January, right? Gifts. Anyone really good at gifting?
I don't know if I'm good at it, but I always try and make my closing gift something for them specifically, not just a generic.
Yep.
Here's
I
what
do the same thing, but I don't do it closing. Closing, we get a bottle of wine or champagne or something like that. I would 3 months, and then I bring it to them. Or have it sent.
Yep.
Or send flowers, something later on.
I've done, personalized charcuterie boards. People go nuts. No pun intended, but, and then the, the watercolor of that they're selling at their home, and same thing, I've gotten comments months later about the gifts.
Yeah.
Really makes a lasting impression.
And the family room down in Laytonville has great, unique
Oh, yeah.
gifts as well, and people are looking for things. Where I get a lot.
So there's a book, if you're bad at gifting like I am, there's a book, it's called Giftology by John Ruhlin. It's a quick read, and he's a Cutco guy, but he talks a little bit about really sometimes it's and again, his marketplace is a lot of the companies that go to trade shows and things like that. But there's some really good tips that you can pick up. I think the charcuterie boards, I think cutting boards are, you think about things that like last in the kitchen, that people are entertained around their kitchen. Like those are really cool things.
I work a lot with my spirit younger, of course. I offer like cater the vicar for their housewarming, and I just ask to get invited.
Yeah. Yep.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'll run to Costco, just get some vicar, and just bring it to them for their house.
Yep. For the client appreciation parties or the housewarming parties. Yep. Obviously calls, texts, just listed, just sold postcards to the sphere of influence. Looking at doing these monthly QR codes. A lot of folks are starting to incorporate QR codes that take people to a video, take people deep into their marketing. Calendars, right? The magnet calendars, social posts, CMAs to the sphere of influence, handwritten note cards. And I've got on here surveys. So I've got, and I'll send you guys all of these links. So this is from Tom Ferry, Summit 2020. Basically a survey for his clients, 4 questions for those who did transactions with you in 2021. How referable am I? How referable am I on a scale of 1 to 10? What did I do that my competitors didn't do? Creating market differentiating. How did working with me make you feel? Right? Because that's what you want to get into, that emotion, right? Because sometimes when people give you referrals, right, or they give you like on Zillow, they give you a review. It's, she was honest, she was great, right? She helped us out, but it didn't get into the, like, when things went sideways with the home inspection. She called us that night and walked us through what our steps were, and we slept on it, and the next day came up with a great solution to get the house. And then how did buying or selling with me affect your life, right? That, again, is one of the things that we have the beauty of doing, is changing people's lives. So why not get them to tell that story? So that's something I'll give you in the afterwards.
And once you have that survey, what do you do with it?
I call back, feel like I appreciate the feedback. So
I mean, is
anybody you know that's looking at something.
Interact, that's the.
So are you meaning how do you get that on Zillow, or how do you?
Do you put that on social media? Do you ask permission? That's another thing.
Well, it's for your own sake, right? To know what your clients are saying about you, but then, yeah, like asking them if you can share this. Because most people, if they're giving you positive reviews, here we go. They're gonna want you to share it.
Going back real quick, just because I saw it, thought it was a great idea. Apparently, there's a place at the farmer's market, Garden Spots. Has any, you've probably heard of them. They'll deliver, so talking about gifting, they'll deliver, and you can be on like a schedule. They'll deliver front pots for you for your, so it's sort of a great idea for gifting for clients that like flowers and stuff. They'll put the whole pot together, you know, fill it with seasonal flowers, and you can be on a rotation of every few months. They have gift cards for that and stuff like that, which I saw, I haven't done yet, but it seemed like a really cool, clever idea.
Yeah, one other thing, when I was online, I saw a realtor out in California was actually buying photo shoots for his clients. This was during COVID, like the porch, like your front porch kind of photo shoots. So that was COVID compliant. But I think it's one of those things that doing that, because again, it's like a memory that you give the family, right? That, or the buyer or the seller, right? That like, when they go back and look at that stuff, because sometimes also for those of you guys, like, I don't have many print photos, right? But the ones I do like are like on display at my house all the time, right? Like, so anything you can give your clients that is print, like potentially like photos would be a really good idea. All right, other things for your sphere, referral, past clients that you guys do to generate business from them.
I do my Popeyes, oftentimes I don't do my Popeyes. Because I decide to do what I make up for lunch and then I gotta get out. Having my son do them. And I told him, I said, you're like Amazon. What do you thought the big case for email and drop, right? And so he did, but then he took a picture of everybody. When he put it on their stuff, he took a picture, he sent me the picture, and then I texted the client. Like he was scheduled. Here's all the dates. And then I said, oh, stop by, because for the most part, people aren't home during the day. I mean, even during COVID, or the night is in the door. And depending on what time it is. And then I sent them, said, say that people stop by, and we'll get blah, blah, blah. And then they got the picture sitting the client, so I'm sending you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what they think about it. And then they shared it, like, oh, look at my girlfriend. It's just like kept going.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to do a bunch of them fast if you don't have time to do a bunch of them fast.
Okay. Other ideas, things you guys do to market that isn't on this list for your sphere of influence, or anything on this list that you guys want to share? Okay, so again, what we'll go through we got a couple more buckets of things. W for things that you want to do, a D for things you are doing. All right, marketing ideas in the social media realm, right? Do you have a YouTube page, channel? Are you on LinkedIn, Facebook, personal and business accounts, Instagram? Do you have a TikTok account? Are you scared of the Russians and the Chinese? Are you doing stories, right? Either Instagram or Facebook. Are you doing reels in Instagram or similar to TikTok? Are you shooting short form videos? Are you shooting long videos? Are you shooting video, period? I've also pulled together, and you'll have these links, kind of a dump of video ideas that you can do. And I pulled Tom Ferry's 2020 Summit, his kind of top 35 videos to shoot. And a lot of it is, top 5 things to do in such and such town. 5 types of properties in such and such town that kind of get the video, that gets a locational kind of juice that comes along with it, especially if you're doing it on YouTube. Other things you guys are doing social media wise.
I mean, I think I just try and comment, engage with as many of my clients, if they're posting something about got into, just engaging with them, using that to send them a card or a little.
Okay. Yep.
Something. Just,
Stalking.
yeah, talking. Exactly.
Yep, and stalking is definitely good. And that's where it's there's we were talking, Mari and I were talking about this consumption versus kind of production. You definitely want to make sure you're consuming, interacting with people, but also you want to make sure that you're putting out good content for people too. So for my video ideas, I put these in categories. There's video ideas for hiring a real estate agent, right? What are the top 5 questions you should be asking when interviewing an agent? And you should ask when interviewing a lender. Buying a new home, what are questions you should ask your real estate agent when buying a new home? Then I get into remodeling, right? Like Ellen, you had that, what's the hot paint color this year, right? What about luxury vinyl tile flooring, right? Like I've gotten that question, I think, more in the last 2 years. Do I rip out the hardwoods and install this? Do I rip the carpet out and install this, right? Like, what's your take on it, right? Because I know what the guy at Home Depot and the guy at the flooring center is going to say, but what's your take on it? And this was lumber prices. How have they affected the real estate market? Home modeling projects that bring the most value. 5 of the worst home improvement projects. Do solar panels add value? Do swimming pools add value? What does $20,000 remodel get you in today's market? Gas versus oil versus electric, right? Like there is shit in your heads, right? That you guys have like, $100,000 ideas that could help clients that you sleep on it and you think about it all day long. And maybe you share it with a client here and there. Like get the stuff out, if not for you to generate business, but for your client's sake, right? Like think about them, right? Like you have a ton of information that they should know. Right. And the last thing you want to do is walk into a client's house and they've done all these crappy renovations and made all these mistakes that, man, if I'd only told them 2 months ago, 6 months ago, right? So get that information out there. Share driveways, location-based stuff, right? What top things I love about X? What does 500K buy you in X? What does 2,500 a month buy you in X? How has Amazon headquarters moving changed the real estate market in X? Right? Think about these questions that come up. Process. Is staging my home necessary for sale? Do I really need a survey? Should I get a home inspection prior to selling my home? What do the school ratings really mean? What websites are buyers looking at for school ratings? Colonial, split level, split foyer, Rambler, which one's the best? Condo versus townhome. Inspection stuff. What is radon? What's a clue report? Okay, so that's kind of a little bit of my dump. Tom Ferry's got 34 videos to shoot, and you'll have access to all these. Difference between banks and mortgage companies when getting home loans. So anyways, you'll have all that. All right, any other comments on social marketing? One of the beauties is all of this stuff is free, right? Like take advantage of it. Make sure you've got a profile up in these places, and push your content out in these different locations. Any comments on this? Anything you guys are adding? Are there new social media sites you guys are using? Parlor? Anyone?
I think I got a lead off of Google Business.
Okay.
They noticed that I told them from the neighborhood that was major.
Okay.
So I gotta let you know that.
Yeah. Yep.
Ellen, I use it a lot. And I pay for the extra so that it checks me out and the other check out. Which I like because
Yep.
I hope they see them. Because, I want them to see them really look at the process. Not just-
I mean, one of my hesitancies about LinkedIn is I do feel like it's very much more business oriented than Facebook. So some of the things, some of the dumb things I put on Facebook, I'm not gonna put on LinkedIn. But I almost feel like that hinders me from doing more. So what do you usually post on?
This is like something we learned, or I don't put, just listed.
Yeah.
Or, what's gonna happen next year. Or that type of thing, but mostly I comment on other. that I know of past-
Yeah.
or past clients.
And my theory is also like, I don't think you can go wrong as long as you're posting original content, right? Or stuff that is good content as opposed to just kind of canned content. I'd say post away, I mean, I think part of it is we go through our feeds so quickly nowadays that, most time, because people are like, well, I posted something on my business page and then I shared it to my personal page. I'm afraid everyone's just going to see all my stuff. I'm like, they're not seeing.
Different audience.
Yeah,
I'd rather
they're seeing
see
very
that on
little.
LinkedIn
I was
than
gonna
some of
say,
the spammy fan content that shows up
Yeah.
often. I'd rather see original.
It'd be
Something
nice for a
that's,
break. Somebody actually might stop and be like, oh,
Yeah.
look, this is actually a person, not a robot.
Like I was posting my Thursday Thinker on LinkedIn and I had someone come to me 2 years ago at back to school night and they were like, I sent this to my 22-year-old cousin who just graduated college because you had some advice for him, right? Like there's little thing, like, again, like that's where it's like your content that you're putting out, sometimes it could help someone who completely unrelated. So if you're putting good content out there, like feel free, I mean, you're almost obligated that you have to put it in as many places and get it in people's hands.
and I think you're connecting a little bit more with more serious professionals. When
Yep.
you're on LinkedIn.
Yep.
So we're like
Treating you as a professional.
All right, so let's shift into marketing ideas for your non-sphere people, right? So what are things you can do that are non-sphere related? So looking at, geographic farming. Anyone doing geographic farming? Okay. Portal websites, right? Buying leads, Zillow, Realtor.com. Referral websites, Upnest, HomeLight, Dave Ramsey, there's a million of them. USAA, you can get into different referral groups. Granted, you're going to pay for them, but it's a free lead in a sense in some of these. Agent to agent referral. Anyone doing expired withdrawn listings? Got a great open house campaign. Targeting absentee owners, right? And this is a big one, like from Tom Ferry's Summit and then from Blueprint, he talked a lot about, he sees this as a wave of people who, especially COVID has kicked a lot of landlords in the teeth, who didn't want to be landlords. Maybe they relocated from DC to Colorado, military, just in case they were going to come back. They held on to the property. Maybe they couldn't sell it 5 years ago. Now they're like nightmare tenant all the way in Maryland. They're not being marketed by a million Maryland real estate agents, right? Like finding those absentee owners might be a source. Cold calling, door knocking, seminars, business to business referrals, right? Reaching out to local businesses, creating business to business referrals, niche legal, right? Like divorce attorneys, estate attorneys, people who deal with land, foreclosure, short sale, investment. And then networking club, chamber, BNI, your tennis and golf club, your book club, anything else, kind of your ideas, things that are non-sphere related.
Attorneys are great. I'm an attorney. Family law, they don't call me.
Sorry,
Yeah, Jeff, get it right.
Yeah. that was insensitive.
But
Yeah.
they need a CMA to see what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And often, one one I work with, he puts right in separation. Talks to the attorney, and just says, you know, this person, she helps me out in some cases, they don't want to pick somebody, they don't want to pick somebody. See if anything done. Then you don't know who the parties. Unless, you know, instead of, well, a cousin of this house. That just becomes another $20 amount.
Anyone having success with any of these non-sphere?
I do seminar in the office in February.
Okay,
Yeah.
what are you doing it on?
With real people.
Ah,
Well, it's not first, and, we used to do it, it's a planner, myself, and a title attorney. We used to do it, and they offered us an employee benefit.
Yeah.
So we pick in $500, $1,500 credit, it's a purchase from us, and we go and first time home, I've done it twice. First time home buyers one time, and then anybody can come to the one, but they sell it to the employees that they're providing that they would say companies to them, which is fine with me.
Yep.
They want to sell it as something that they can put in the benefit package. So they provide us back.
very cool.
You know, think a lot of it, maybe 2 years.
That's all.
Just for itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 deals a year, and that puts you into the top like 25% of Montgomery County agents, right? Off that little thing. Yeah.
Well, you connected with some of the senior living places.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And, you know, when somebody goes to those places, you can find somebody in one of those places that you can connect with. You're not gonna want- When somebody who's in there, oftentimes, they're in a panic. They gotta pay $6,000 a month, $7,000 a month, whatever, for mom to move in there. You gotta sell that house. So, and they're not, a lot of times, children, he's not living here, you know, she's in California, Colorado, somewhere, she comes in to help out, and now we gotta sell the house, you don't have time to get it empty, painted, all that kind of stuff. If you can take that on, it's slam dunk.
all right. So transitioning a little bit. So other things for your business. This gets into tools, right? There's some tools that maybe you want to incorporate into your business in 2022. Krista, you mentioned the Google My Business. This is something kind of the last couple months we have really pushed hard on. Part of this has been a little bit of a, you know, I think Zillow has friend or foe. We've constantly been going through this battle with them. They have a lot of market share, and I think it's a, you know, I think aligning yourself and making sure your stuff is findable on Google is really important, considering Zillow maybe making Zillow not as much of a threat anymore because you're balanced. So making sure you got your Google My Business profile done, info, photos, videos, reviews in there. Other review sites, right? Still, I think Zillow is still a findable, a great place to have your reviews, right? The way I look at it is typically when people Google you, right, they already have your name. Maybe they've seen your sign, they've seen your postcard, someone mentioned you at a cocktail party. So you're findable that way. The Zillow reviews is actually when someone is on a real estate search portal. They're looking for real estate at that point. There's definitely benefits to being findable there and with good recommendations on a real estate search portal. Anyone else using any of the other review sites? There's like Rate My Agent. There's some that I get when some agents close transactions. Anyone using those effectively, having success with them?
What happens to that information? Send us
Oh,
a
for,
survey about
so when that information, that's all internal. We use that when we go to recruit them. Basically, we use that as the benchmark. If they were not a good prospect, we take them out of our CRM. If there's someone who we should go after, well, you know, it's good to have those notes as to what happened, what transaction was it, And what we find is like for us, like the agents you guys like a lot, it's usually the transactions sometimes weren't the smoothest, right? But it was when you actually, I had to call them, they picked up the phone. I presented a solution. They worked on it. We were able to find a happy medium, right? It's not always the ones that were just the smoothest that we always get 10s on. Reviews. One thing when you're, and I'll tell you, driving at reviews, when you ask for reviews, make sure that your clients state the place, what location as much as possible of the reviewable transaction, and then your full name, right? Ellen Coleman, sold us our home in Mount Airy. She, and they tell their story. The location plus your name makes that a lot more searchable as opposed to she sold us a house. All right, other tools, upgrading, improving, launching your website, making, are there things you want to implement and add to your website? Do you want to, are there neighborhoods that you target, right? Do you want to add a neighborhood page to your website? Your concierge vendor list, right? Do you want to publish that out there? Do you want to have that on there? Your listing presentation. Do you want to have a private page on your listing presentation that isn't findable, but you can send people to your website, right? So you can almost do your pre-listing package online. Because again, a lot of our listing assets, our marketing assets are all online. So sometimes sending them just a print presentation may only tell half the story of your marketing plan.
Are you talking about like Cloud CMA, how they send it as it can be like that interactive one?
Well, the CMA, no.
Okay.
The CMA, yes, you can, but I'm talking more of the marketing, right? Because what do you do? Because I look at that as, 2 reasons why homes sell: price and exposure, right? Seller, the pricing is really, at the end of the day, we understand that pricing is the most important thing. Doesn't matter how good you do of marketing. If the house is $1 million overpriced, it ain't selling. But with that said, sellers, the manifestation of what we do for sellers typically is what we do to market. That, and a lot of times in their mind is really the differentiator between you and other agents.
So how would you make a website that's like not visible online unless you send it to?
Yeah, so like with Booz, you can create an unpublished web page. It's got a live link and you can send people to that live link. Like what I do is like in Evernote, I've done that with Evernote where it's kind of a private file. It's not searchable. You can't find it anywhere unless it's been sent to you. But there might be some things you want to start incorporating into your website or into some digital platform that you can send clients to get more information about you. CRM, right? Do you love your CRM? Do you hate your CRM? Do you not have a CRM, right? Do you need to incorporate your CRM more? What's that? I heard someone moan. Maybe that was online. QR codes. Are you using QR codes into your business? And then environment, right? In your office, where you do your work for the most part. Are there things you need to add into your business? Any trackers, right? Do you have any whiteboards that you want to add this year into your business? Order them now so that they show up by February, right? Like, do you have a listing pending board, right? Where you can track where your listings are. Do you do thermometers, right? I've got a Q1 challenge and I need to do 32 transactions in Q1 or 31 appointments in Q1. So yeah. But whatever it is, you can track that stuff. Sometimes the thermometer is a great thing to have to give yourself that visual. Yeah, but
have you ever heard of HomeBot?
I have. What is it?
It's like a CMA tool.
Okay.
But I've been digging into it. I mean, not really digging into it, but I looked into it briefly.
I have no feedback for you on that one. But HomeBot?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a CMA tool. And then Jessica, you were talking about cloud CMA.
Yeah, you can customize the CMA that you can make.
Okay. Okay.
Totally used it, but
So for some of you all may be adding to this tools list that, you know, a online CMA program, right? That you can send out to clients that might be more interactive. So again, with these lists, W is a want or a will do, and then D is doing, right? If it's something you're doing, put a D next to it. Something you want to do, put a W next to it. And then the last thing I've got on this list is online profiles, right? Say it till I'm blue in the face. Google yourself. Go to like for those of you using Google, go to an incognito window, which shouldn't have any of the cookies or kind of history in it. Google yourself. If you've got a common name, put in realtor or real estate agent, see what comes up. Every single one of those sites that comes up on the front page should have an updated photo, should have an updated profile. Should, if you can put a intro video, whatever it is, all those places should have your updated profile. All right, next page, process, and we're got a couple more pages on this, process projects. Listing marketing plan, right? Do you have a listing marketing plan that you do every single time? Or do you need to bring this into your business? Do you have a buyer consultation plan? Well, I never work with buyers, so I don't need to do that. Maybe you work with buyers all the time and you definitely need to do this. Do you have a post-closing plan, right? Jared James has talked a lot about that bow tie effect, right? Like we have all of these processes that lead up into closing. And then when closing happens, like on to the next transaction, right? You just invested all that time, energy, and effort. You dumped tons of hours into these people, and then you do nothing to follow up with them ever again, right? Until like 2 years later, you see their house relisted. And you're like, damn it. And I put Giftology. This is that book I was talking about. And sometimes those, it sounds crazy, but because I'm a terrible gifter, that these gifts work, gets people to remember you, right? What's that? What? Green, I'm sorry. Greenans? Stop it. Okay, do you have a, like, are you looking to hire someone into your business? Do you need a standard operating procedure to hire that person into your business, right? So I always find like what makes you guys great salespeople sometimes make you crummy managers and bosses. So some of that is just taking a step back and understanding, how do I do my business? How does, you know, how does the Tracy Onslow team do her business each and every time, and handing that playbook off to someone else, right? Are you able to do that in your business? Do you want to do it? If you don't want to do it, don't put it on your list, right? But if it's something you're thinking about, something we can work on. Are you doing your own transactions? You want someone else to do them? Maybe we need to interview a transaction coordination company in 2022. Do you have someone who does your marketing? Do you need to hire someone out? Do you need to get any help? A videographer maybe, because you're great at shooting video, but you're terrible at editing it, right? So there's some process projects that you might want to add onto this list. Any other, you guys got any other process projects that you want to add onto your lists?
say transaction coordinator company.
Yep.
Even just, I think a lot of people just knowing how to manage their transactions if they're doing them themselves, having a really good checklist and like keeping it organized is so wonderful.
Yep.
But like I know agents that don't even do that. It shocks me.
Yep.
But, have a transaction coordinator, just put a one-page checklist.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
What's amazing to me is we've been in transactions with agents who, you know, they've lost their transaction coordinator or what, and they have no idea what to say. They're just like,
Yeah.
I don't usually do this.
Yeah, and I've had some agents hire some terrible transaction coordinators too, who have screwed things up and cost them commission. So it's always, you gotta be really critical about who you're hiring as your transaction coordination company. But I do tell agents that if you hire the right one, they're probably gonna do a better job than you on transacting, because I hear agents like, well, I like to personally be involved in all steps of my transaction.
What I hate is when you get this, ratified, right? Okay, please copy my assistant, my transaction coordinator, this, the, other. No, I'm not gonna send it to 4 different people.
It's really gotten crazy.
You're gonna have one email that they get all access
yeah,
because I'm not
that's
saying. it's
Right.
gonna be-
Yep.
Yes.
It really is crazy how people expect you to like, oh, you reach out to my assistant. I'm like, no, like, we're yours. Like,
What's your education plan for 2022, right? Wouldn't it be great? Like, think of this in a perfect world where you could, like, you're not taking your CE classes 2 weeks before the end of your deadline, right?
2
And
hours.
yeah, and you actually got to maybe even like, you could go to one in person and go to like a really good CE class and get credit for it, right? Like, so sometimes like, look, yeah, like if your CE isn't available for, if you don't have to renew for another year, why not take a couple good classes in 2022? You don't have to take all of them, just take 3
I've
really.
been actually doing realtor fest, when they do
Yeah.
classes. I feel like it's so much easier to just get it out of the way in 2-3 days.
Yep.
And,
It's such an exciting.
And
thing.
you know what
oh, yeah, it's
The day
amazing.
after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, every year, CE puts out 15 credits for $59. You
Yeah.
go on there, buy it.
Yep.
and You have a year to take your classes.
Yep.
Yeah, really. So one night, you can't sleep, you get up and take a class. I mean,
Cyber
they don't
Monday.
take that long to
Yep.
take those classes.
So are there any designations you want to put on your list this year, right? Any books you want to read? Gio mentioned he wants to read a book a month, right? You come up with 12 books, buddy.
Shit.
audiobook.
I
Yeah.
hate
Love it. Yeah.
I'll get on TikTok. I'll get distracted about it.
Yeah.
Podcasts. Like one day I spent the whole day with Brian Buffini because I was driving so much.
Yeah.
Just kept going and going. I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah. Beats the hell out of murder podcasts. Yeah. All right, coaching. Any coaching you want to take in 2022, right? Is there some things you really want to delve into, and you're going to need some education to get there, right? Did you want to start coaching with me on a regular basis? Conventions, right? I know some folks are talking R4, right? Like, what's going to happen is you're going to be a month from R4, and you're going to be like, oh, I don't have time to go, right? But it's probably because the first time you thought about it again was a month before. So plan it out, put it on your calendar, like book your hotel now, right? Like commit to it if that's what you want to do. If you want to go to, Brian Buffini, one of his events, you want to go to Tom Ferry's, one of his events, because what you'll find in 2022, a lot of programs that were offered virtually, no more, right? Like it's just way too complex for a lot of coaches to do stuff online that they're just going to go, everything's going to be in person. Anything else education wise you think should be out on this list? If it's a will or want, put a W next to it. If it's something you're doing, put a D. All right. And I think this is our last think tank page, financial plan, right? Dun, dun, dun. So they say out of the US population, 80% of the people, when they go to retire, will be relying on family or government subsidies to live. 15% will be fine. And then 5% are generating generational wealth. And it really, if you kind of line these numbers up next to how you treat money, it probably is very similar. So most agents, the way they treat their commission check is they get their fat old commission check, right? And they put it into their personal account, right? And it's gone, right? It just vaporizes. Don't know where the hell it went, right? So then you rush, get another commission check and it goes back into the personal account, right? You have end of the year, you had a great year, right? Maybe got some savings. And then the next year, tax man comes calling, right? And then it's almost like, oh my God, I got to get out of the business, right? And I've had agents come to me like, literally like they've got like, I don't want to make any more money because because of the tax liabilities I'm going to have. And that's what happens to most folks. They get kind of little on this treadmill with their checks. Keep in mind, your commission checks, you're a business, right? Like you need to treat your commission checks like a business would. So 15% of you guys, if you guys can do this, the top 15%, you'll be doing great. You should be set up as an LLC, right? Your commission checks come in, they go to your business account. From your business account, then you pay everyone else. And usually what we talk about is a third, right? A third goes to your home budget, a third goes to your business and business expenses, and then a third goes into a tax account. If you can start doing this in 2022, it sounds simple, right? Like, how am I going to really save any extra money? How am I going to do stuff? But what you'll find is when that money is kind of pushed off to the side and it's there, you almost have to physically take it out of that account and put it in this account. Every time you do that, then you actually have to make that decision, right? When I make that transfer out of my business account into my home account, am I doing this way too often? Why am I doing this, right? It gets you to be a little more critical of where you're spending your money, right? Because the tax man's always going to get paid, right? That's always going to be, but wouldn't it be nice if you had that money taken care of, you had your home budget a little bit put together? I think you'd have a lot more money at the end of the year into your accounts. And then the top 5%, this is kind of getting into same kind of scenario. Tax man gets paid, business account, and then the other third goes into an investment account. That investment account is going to pay your home expenses, and then also start paying a 529 for those of you guys saving for college, goes into buying real estate. And again, you guys have access to a lot of great real estate, right? Like you all should be looking at investing, right? If you tell clients they should be investing in real estate, you probably should be investing in real estate too. Retirement accounts, right? So a lot of that's going to start with, and again, this is a simple step. And I say, set up a business account, make sure you're an LLC, talk to your tax accountant. That's your first critical step. But it's looking at your family budget, your business budget, what savings you want to start going for, and then any investments down the road. Any comments, questions on this? Go for it.
Very hard work. My son just got a job. Goes out together, got a job, and for the retirement, they will match what he puts in, 5%, he put 5%, they'll match 5%. That's amazing, right? Well, he comes out and he says, my husband is all about that, right? He goes, put in 10, I have to put extra 2, and if I'm there a certain amount, they're gonna give me another point on that. So he's, I mean, this is a guy that, you know, could take his car payment for a while, now he's saving 12%. He's like, soon enough, I'll have a wife, she'll be spending my money, so I gotta get money. I gotta get some money saved up. And so it was great for him to see that he did pick up on that eventually, that, you know, invest in yourself. And that's what he said. He said, you know what, good for you, you're investing in yourself. Because soon enough, you can buy something with that money. You can go out to lunch more, you can buy the next snowboard, you can, whatever you're gonna do, but that money. Yep. I was saying, you said those could happen sometimes, kids will pick up on that.
And I've also in your package, so after financial plan, this is from Momentum. You know, looking at a family budget and, you know, where's your money going? It's important to start putting some of these numbers down, start being a little more critical. Because I also find that sometimes people's home budget winds up sucking all of the profit out of the business account, and that they don't have anything left to market, right? And again, you need fuel for your business. You need capital to be able to invest, to do certain things within your business. It's sometimes you got to make some sacrifices initially, like your son's talking about, because down the road, there's going to be bigger expenses, right?
This doesn't include business expenses, honestly.
This does not, right? Yep. And I'll give you a a rule of thumb. So let me show you real quick. For those of you who hate Tom Ferry, I apologize because a lot of my presentation
He's
has.
done a lot better. I have to admit, I didn't like him initially, but
Yeah.
the last 2 years, I think he's turned himself around a bit. He's not so salesy.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Done some good content.
And when you listen to him, for those of you who've been in the business a long time, there's a guy, Howard Brinton, Star Power, which it was coaching ADD, right? Like they took like all these top producing agents, grabbed all the ideas from them, and there was no way to implement all of these ideas. And Tom Ferry kind of comes off a little bit that way, just way overload, and then geared towards like 100-person teams. That's the way to go. But there's definitely he's got some good stuff. So here's one of them. This talks about your operating expense, because I think you're probably drilling towards this. So he says your operating expense should be about 30% of your income. With that said, though, he's got a 15.5% goes towards staff salaries. So if you've got, and this is for bigger teams, so that number is going to be the one based on your production that's going to kind of shrink or grow.
So should that be your salary if you're not a team?
It could be, yeah. Yeah, you could look at it that way. But marketing, lead gen, 10%, education coaching, 1.5%, supplies, 1%, communication tech, 1%, auto insurance, 0.5%, and then equipment, 0.5%. So anywhere from, 15 to 30% should be for operating expenses out of your business.
And 30% should be your personal expenses.
Yeah, about 30, 33% should be, goes to your home. Yep. All right. So gotten through financial plan here. So now rounding the corner on setting actual 2022 goals. So now you've gotten an idea to kind of look big picture at your business, right? How you did in 21, where you think you want to go in 22. So let's take about 3 minutes and let's throw an income goal on here. And I've gone through a bunch of different business planning sessions. You can get really complex on coming up with these formulas. Sometimes this is just a wild ass guess, right? Based on where you want to go. But I'm okay with that. Because again, I think some of that is, you've got to get a thought in your mind that we can actually build a plan off of. Maybe that number is wrong and we'll find out at the end of 22. Maybe you're right? So let's take about 3 minutes. Think about what you want for your income goal, what you want for your transaction goal, and then what you want for your volume goal.
What does your income goal have to do with your value goal?
What's that?
What's your value and income kind of go together?
Nope. Yes. But it depends. Depends on what your commission rate is. All right, got about a minute left. All right, pencils down. So now we've set an income goal, transaction goal, volume goal, right? And part of this, I haven't given you a whole lot of direction on what this number should be, right? Because it's going to be up to you guys. And some of this, we're going to hammer this a little bit later on down the road. And ideally, I put this page twice in your package here because this is a work page. At the end of the day, once you come to that real, if this number changes or you think after kind of going through the plan, you want to change it, I want you to put it on the front of this package because I want this to stare at you, each and every time you kind of go back to this package. So one of my big things is really it's outbound prospecting, right? So if you want to calculate an easy way to calculate basically a daily contact goal, we're going to use this formula. Take your transaction goal and we're going to times it by 50. So I'll give you mine. Mine is 25 transactions. That's what I put as my transactional goal. I'm going to times that by 50, right? And that gives me 1,250. This is the yearly number of phone calls conversations I need to have to hit my goal, right? It's a big, stupid number, right? So then we're going to divide that number by 10 because you're going to work 10 months this year. Well, no, I'm going to work 11 and a half because I'm such a hard worker. No, you're not. You're going to work usually 10 months, right? Because time's you're going to get sick. You're going to go on vacation. You're not going to feel it. Something more important should come up too, right? Something family related that's going to make you not work that day or a couple days. So we're going to divide that by 10 months. So now this is our monthly goal. And then we're going to divide that number by 20 because we're going to work 20 days a month.
Said with a higher amount for some of us.
So now you have a number. Mine is 6.25. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that number and you're going to round it up to the next even number. So my daily contact is going to be 8. So to hit your transaction goal, this is a number you're going to have to look at as your daily contact goal, right? For me, I mean, I can do this. This is a doable, right? But I've got to invest the time. So I got to make sure I schedule this out into my schedule to make it happen, but it's a reasonable goal.
Joel, is this daily contact, is this talking about contact with current clients or is this just prospecting, like cold calls type?
It can be both. This is more geared towards your sphere of influence. Yep.
Yeah, I would say not current clients because deals that you already have
Oh,
in contract
yeah.
are not going to count towards new business.
Correct. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah. This is going to be new contacts, not necessarily check-in calls, things like that.
It's fair.
Would this include, is this just phone calls or is this note cards, emails, CMAs, is that?
So this is voice-to-voice communication. Yep. It could be at an open house. It could be at Starbucks. But this is voice-to-voice conversations with people
Actually, about this.
about real estate. Yep. Which isn't hard, right? You guys have fun jobs. You don't work at NIST, like, balancing scales or something like that. That's just like,
Oh, my husband, who's a pastor, as soon as people ask him what he does, it is the end of the conversation. We laugh about, if they ask me what I do, it's the beginning.
Yeah.
People love to talk about this.
oh yeah.
Spiritual things, yeah.
All right. So now you've got your daily contact goal. So let's do this. Can we take a quick break? You guys want to take a potty break, grab something to drink, And then we're gonna delve into how do we synthesize all of these ideas into a yearly, monthly, weekly, daily plan. Okay? We're gonna take a little break. Yeah.
As I was doing my taxes and stuff, like, what is your gross profit, like, for people? Like, what if we were to, after doing taxes and stuff?
After doing taxes. Again, kind of looking at this formula, like 33% of your income should go towards taxes. 33% is gonna go, well, I'd say probably, your business expenses could anywhere be from 10 to 30%.
So on that one slide, it said 37.
Yeah, yep.
At the bottom, 37% profit minimum.
Yep.
That's what we're talking about. That's what you're going to pay taxes on. at 37%, right?
In theory, yeah.
What's the 33%?
So 33% is taxes.
That's how much you're paying in taxes.
Yep.
On the 37% of it.
Well, in theory, you would have taken out the whole 100%. You've taken out your 33% of taxes. So now everything else is tax-free in theory, right? The 66% that's left of your business is in sense tax-free. So you're gonna have those business expenses, which have already been taken into account in the 33. So that would be just taken out dollar for dollar, and then whatever's left over.
So like the net income, your tax fund should be the 37% of the total.
So give me an example.
Like I can show you my actual one. Like you have your total income, gross profit, right? And the net income should be 37% and of the gross profit.
Once once your business expenses are out, right?
Yeah.
What you're putting into your home account.
After your net operating income, your net income would be, well, it'd be the same.
Yeah, because you're thinking 33% goes towards taxes, 30% towards business expenses. So at a minimum, you should have 37% going. Is basically going to be profit. Yeah. And it's already been taxed because you've taken the 33% out of the total. So all of the taxes are out of the picture.
Okay. Yeah.
It's gonna be our first. Like I have something that automatically pops up.
Doing great.
What year are they? School?
Fourth and pre-K. summer, my wife was talking during some about hurricanes. And she was like, hey, it's never been in our program. We price shop, and they were. Like 6,300 a month. And I was like,
These people are just like me, like, just take it up, what you're gonna actually eat.
It's a good thing.
Leave some for somebody else might want to have too.
yeah, so that's been the case. Like,
If the church is invested in the little school, then you're golden. I mean, it really works so much.
yeah, it's been really good. Learned so much and so far ahead. What else to say?
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's been busy.
My oldest son just passed his final class for, major exam of his son. Put together like an investment portfolio, which he does for a living. Exciting.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, guys, we're gonna get started back up here in a second.
I like the way you categorize things and break it down.
You're looking for me?
Oh, I am. I was gonna follow you into the bathroom, but decided against it.
That's smart.
Good decision, Joe.
Did you just miss me?
I did. All right. Okay, so now we're gonna get our hands back in. So again, we analyzed 2021, look forward, peeked ahead to 2022, came up with a shit ton of ideas, and most of them we just aren't going to be able to implement. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. I've done this before and I came up with a shit ton of ideas and I'm still back at the same place I was a year later. So now is what we're going to actually do is synthesize all of these ideas into a plan. So show me your routines and I can predict your level of success and happiness. I was on a board and, and it was a new agent. It was like on one of the real estate masterminds, and then a new agent said like, and they were asking for advice on, I seem to be doing all this work, but I'm just not, I'm not seeing the results. And someone very, succinctly came on there and said, show me your calendar. Right. And that was like a little bit of an aha moment, I guess you could call it. But really, if it's not on your calendar, then it's not, it's not happening. Granted, I know some of you guys and girls will put like book out every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. I'm going to do this. And then it's a wish list, right? And it never happens either. So what we're going to do is try to create a template system that allows you to almost walk through a checklist every single time that you're creating and really it's going to boil down to your weekly plan, because that's pretty much, where you're going to find a lot of control, where you can actually, daily, yes. But daily, you don't necessarily see the results as much in a daily plan as you do in a weekly plan. The weekly plan still gives you a lot of touch. As you get to monthly and yearly plans, you lose a little bit of the control. So we're going to kind of drill this thing down. So let's talk about our routines. And I'm giving you pages here, blank pages, a yearly plan, monthly plan, weekly, and daily. So let's look at our yearly plan. And again, what we want to do is go through this, and typically our yearly plan is going to be full of events. Typically for me, it's been events that I know kind of come seasonally that I want to do in my business. If you're committed to doing a pop by every month, right? Damn straight, you better have your pop by on this list for every single month and start planning this out. So like January, CDs, right? Closing disclosures go out to all my past clients, right? Like January, that needs to happen. Also, like things get a little quiet after the new year, so maybe, we're going to do a pop by, right? In January. February, you got Valentine's Day. Are you doing a Valentine's Day pop by? Are you doing any special promotion in Valentine's that you want to push out to people? We're looking at doing like our country club has a golf simulator. So we're going to do a little happy hour for our clients, right? They're probably going to be, everyone's locked inside in February, right? Like looking at doing some type of small client party then. March, right? St. Patrick's Day, is there, kind of getting into spring, is there things, a shred event that you wanted to do? April, May, June, right? Graduation parties, right? Like we have a kid graduating, so we know we're going to be doing a graduation party. It's, take it for what it is. It's business, right? So we're going to want to make sure that we treat it as a business event. July, I need to order my school calendars, right? That I'm not ordering them in September like I did this year, right? November, getting into like doing a Thanksgiving weekend party, December, gift for neighbors. So make sure you're thinking of things that you want to put on this list that kind of comes seasonally, right? That and a lot of that is going to be, at least in my opinion, events. So give you about 2 minutes and let's come up with some things you want to get on the calendar for each month. Why are you looking?
No, I don't know. It makes me have to think.
You do something every month already? Is that part of this?
This is your plan. So yes,
Okay.
go ahead and put on there. It might show up in our monthly template too. But I'm okay. The more the merrier. But think about the things that maybe are specific to that month that you would only do. Maybe you do an event, like I said, maybe you do an event every month or you do a Popeye every month. Make sure that you've got your March Popeye thought out.
Right.
And it can change, but at least get some placeholder that you've got something in there. All right, everyone got 6 months at least? Okay. Here's the most critical part in this is going to be at least the first quarter of 2022, right? All right, let's flip a page over. Now we're going to build the monthly plan, right? There's things that you're going to do every single month going forward. What we want to do is commit to it, because part of this is going to be, and the reason I've got here, completed on the X of every month. So what you're going to want to do is, if you're going to put anything in your calendar, what you're going to do is plan out the month on, let's say mine is the 25th, right? The 25th of every month, I'm going to go back to this template and I'm going to start planning out my month. So what goes into your monthly plan? So for instance, me, and I'll give you examples and you guys can fill out however you want to do it. And again, a lot of it is going back and looking at your pages that have a W or a D on them.
So question, would this be
Yep.
done the 25th of the month before?
So,
That's really late.
yeah, you're right. You got it. Yeah, so I'm doing that, and that's a good question. Like December 25th on Christmas Day, I'm maybe the day after, I'm gonna be planning out January. So, okay, so what goes on the monthly plan? For me, email newsletter, right? My email newsletter is gonna go out because I like to pull the RBI stats or the Smart Chart Pro. They usually come out the 15th of every month. So I'm going to have my email newsletter sent out on the 16th of every month. So I go in on December 26th and I put in January 16th, newsletter goes out, right? Just listed, just sold cards, right? I send those, it's my goal to send those every single month. The 10th of every month, I'm going to put in my calendar, I'm going to go December 26th. On January 10th, a just listed, a just sold card will go out to my sphere of influence. It gets booked. Popeye.
Is that,
Yep, go ahead.
sorry, do you do it like that's the day you make it? Like, or that it actually goes out?
So that's a really good question. You know,
You can't do that, just listed,
Both?
just sold. If
right, you can do
Well-
like when I start planning it versus when it goes out. You know, for most of this, I try to implement it the same day, right? If you need 2 days, you can always do that.
Well, there's steps to the process. In other words, you have to review it before it goes out. It just doesn't automatically go out.
Correct. Yep.
So you have to do 2 days or depending on what it is
Okay.
that goes out.
So then in that case, like if you know it's going to take you 2 days to process your just listed, just sold card, then, and I want my card out on the 10th. So on the 8th of that month, well, the 8th is a Sunday. So then I'm going to go to the 6th, right? The 6th is when I need to order it from Botswana to go out. Make sure it's out on the 10th, right? Yeah, so you can absolutely do that. Yep. Popeye. So I want to do a monthly Popeye with my clients, right? Maybe it's 10 Popeyes, right? So now I got to look through my January calendar, you know, because I go to my yearly plan and I've got a New Year's Popeye, right? I'm going to do a candle to my sphere of influence. I'm going to do it to maybe 15 people, right? So now I've got to plot out in my calendar what dates I'm going in January. I'm committing to what dates I'm going to do a Popeye, because the Popeye is something critical to my business, right? It's something that's supported based on my funnel, right? My different funnels, things that I need and want and will do in my business. I need to now program them into my calendar. Am I doing an event that month? If I am, shit, it's time to book it, right? And to Mary's point, I need to, you know, when do the invitations go out? So this triggers a whole series of events based on the type of event that's going in there. Monthly, I'm going to update my website, right? Maybe I need to change the cover photo to a new listing or to one that just sold. So on the 16th of every month, I'm going to update and maybe I'll have it coordinate with my newsletter, right? So maybe it makes sense to do it the same day as my newsletter. So that'll be the 16th. Geo, I'm gonna do a book a month too. So I need to pick a book. I need to put it on the calendar, right? Like, this is my deadline, or if I want to do a book a month, I gotta do it every month, right? So I'm gonna get it into the calendar when I pick my book. So getting better at my finances, right? Because that could have been something in one of my goals, right? The only way you're ever going to get better at your finances is to do a audit of your finances on a monthly basis, at least even look at it, right? Because sometimes you might go 2-3 months without really checking a lot of your accounts, right? Out of sight, out of mind, right? I don't want to even see it. But if I want to get better at it, I've got to spend some time. So maybe there is the 25th of every month, I analyze my budget, my income, and my investments. Other things on a monthly basis you guys want to add in here. And again, I threw out what my list is, but again, what you want to do is start going back through your funnel, right? What's going to make it into your plan? All right, next up is the weekly plan. So now we have our monthly plan, which starts taking, again, we've kind of taken some things out of our idea pipeline, put them into the monthly plan. Now on the weekly. So for me, I like to complete my week the Friday prior. So you need to pick a day and even a time and get that into your calendar. So right now in my calendar, I basically have 2 auto dates, or 1 auto date set for my setting up the month coming up. And then I've got 4 to 5, depending on how many Fridays are in the month, auto dates set up that I need to plan out the next week, the following week. So what does your weekly plan look like? Right? For me, I want to get out CMAs to my clients, right? So 5 CMAs to my clients. What's that? Weekly. Yep. And again, for you guys, it could be 10, it could be 1, whatever it is, it is. You may say, I'm never going to send a CMA to my client. So you don't have to have it in your plan, but if that is something in your plan, so when am I going to put those? Am I going to do all 5 in one day, or am I going to do 1 a day? Right? I've got a kid's dentist appointment on Tuesday. I've got Cup of Joe. I can't do it on Tuesday, right? Next week. So it's going to have to be, right? So I've already kind of planned it. So, and that's where the problem a lot of us have is we set these weekly criteria up. We auto schedule it into our calendar, and then it doesn't happen just because life gets in the way, an appointment gets in the way, but we've never rescheduled it for another date. We run over that date, and now it just becomes a wish list. You know, if you want to do social posts, here's a great, I want to do 2 social posts a week, right? When are those social posts going to happen? So we gotta schedule those. If you're doing 1 a day, when's it happen, right? Videos. And I know all of you, like every Tuesday, Cup of Joe, right? 10 o'clock. Right? Maybe. Okay.
Thank God for those.
Yeah. You know, your team meeting, right? Like if you have anyone you work with in your business, damn, you should have a team meeting every week, right? Maybe even 2, depending on how you run your team. Project time. So what we'll also look at is there's some things in this plan, you know, let's say, let's go to in the funnel. Okay, let's say I want to improve my listing marketing plan, right? It's not just going to happen in 15 minutes, right? It may take me a chunk of time, and it may, and we'll get into kind of some project planning things. But what I need to do is I need to schedule time in my schedule, my week, to have chunks of time for project time, where it is 2 hours. And I tell you, 2 hours is about the minimum, but also maybe the maximum, that you need just quiet time where you're doing nothing but working on that project, right? Because you've done all, you've scheduled your prospecting, let's say at other times during the day, so that shouldn't interfere with it. Maybe an appointment might interfere with it, but again, if you don't have it on the schedule, it's likely it will not happen. Something will fill that void. Time to review your weekly numbers, right? So now we've set up some accountability, for better or worse, in our weekly schedule. Best thing to do is also look at that scoreboard, right? How did I do this week, right? And maybe it is the following Friday, I do a weekly, number review. How did I do on my calls, text, appointment sets, appointments gone on, goals? Was I able to do my 2 social posts? Actually, I did 3 this week, right? Was I able to, get my 5 CMAs out, right? It's like like I've coached kids in sports all the time, right? And you've got to, it's almost the lack of feedback sometimes is worse than bad feedback, right? And you've got to give yourself that feedback. You've got to give yourself a chance to kind of look at, and how did I do? Some of you may, like again, in your tools list, you may have added a whiteboard to keep track of some of this stuff, right? On the weekly, do hash marks, do for your appointments. But again, make sure you have a chance in your weekly schedule to review your numbers. And then ultimately you need to schedule your outbound prospecting time. And I don't care. And again, there may be the rare exception, but most all of us, we need to at least spend an hour, 4 days a week doing outbound prospecting. And that is ideally voice to voice or belly to belly, right? In front of people. Text is okay. It works. I get it. But sometimes it's ideally a voice call is going to be way better than a text. You should have an accountability for weekly appointment sets, and I think most agents, if you set a goal of 1 to 3 appointments a week and see how you do, right? And I hate to leave it as see how you do, but I think you got to set some intentions on what you expect out of your calls, text, appointment sets, and then appointment goals. Because if you're going on 1 to 2 appointments a week, every week, you're going to be in really good shape. And I know I sound like a broken record, but keep going back to your funnel list and see if there's things that need to be incorporated into the weekly. If it is something like for your Google My Business, right? Like I've told people, index, have a lot of photos up there. You need 100 photos, but don't dump them all in at once, right? So maybe it is on the weekly, it's 10 photos into my Google My Business profile. You may say, you know what, I could care less about Google. It's not on your list. Don't worry about it, right? I mean, you got to design the plan for what and how you want to design it. Questions on the weekly? Okay. So then that delves into, and this daily plan, and this is what I tell you is this is my ideal day, right? And I think for the most part, what I tell folks is try to control before 9. For most of us, that makes sense, right? Like once the kids get off to school, if you have kids, right? And then usually the afternoon winds up being a lot more appointments. I just talked to an agent. She said all of her appointments are in the morning. So maybe you flip flop that, but have a daily routine, right? Like It's like there's a little bit of a hack that you guys have right now because of daylight savings last week, right? I'm not a morning person, but like, damn, if I didn't get up at 6:30, like bright and cheery, right? Like I've never done that before because I had that extra hour, right? And I was able to kind of trick myself into doing a couple habits that I've never done before in that 6:30 to 7:30 period where I'm normally like snooze, like kids are getting me up kind of thing. So what does that perfect morning look like, right? For me, 6:30 coffee, 7 o'clock email check. I do my first check of my email just to make sure there's no like fires that are urgent and important. 7:30 walk the dogs, 8 o'clock yoga. Yeah. 10-minute sun salutations, right? Is all you need to do. Then you can do more. But I'm starting to do yoga now, but I never had time for it, right? But like it's 10 minutes. Like I used to sit and, do stupid stuff in the morning, like look through social media for like 35 minutes when I could have done it for 25 minutes and then done a little bit of something extra, shower, and then in the office by 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, check Bright, see what's going on with the market. 9:30, half an hour in my CRM. 10 o'clock, prospecting calls till 11. And then 11 is my listings and buyer check-ins. 12 noon, social posts. 1 o'clock, note cards. And then the rest of the afternoon just gets blown up, for me, coaching appointments, things like that. But try to build out what your ideal day looks like. But again, if you can get into a morning routine, kind of control what happens between when you wake up and when you get into the office or when you get in front of your laptop. As much of that as you can do, just set your day off on the right foot. Any questions on that? All right, so then the last 2 pages are our GPS. So if you think about your business plan is made up of 2 things. One thing we just nailed pretty distinctly is the calendar, right? What happens on a more regular and consistent basis? What needs to be, it's chopping wood, right? Like every week, this is my business standard. Every month, this is my business standard, right? We've set that expectation, and every day, this is what my perfect day should look like. But there's this whole other area out here that is, well, like I want to improve my my sphere-based business, right? So I don't even have an email newsletter right now. I don't have a postcard campaign. So some of this is we're going to need to build within that 2-hour project time that we've kind of chunks. We want to implement some new projects into our business, right? We need to improve stuff. So what this GPS allows us to do for Q1, we're able to create, and there's only 3. So it's priority 1, priority 2, and priority 3 up at the top. We're basically going to call out 1 to 3, and you don't need to do 3. If you just did 1 project or 2 projects, I'm totally good with that. But if there's a project out of this funnel list that you want to start doing, right? One of the W's, one of the wants that may take a little bit more time, that may take a little more coordination. This is something that you want to boil this down to just 1 to 3 of those items and get this on the list. An easy one I always throw out is like the geo farm. I want to start a geo farm, right? Where do I even start? Well, I got to pick a geographic farm. So let's say priority 1 would be geographic farm. So strategy 1, so the priorities are supported by the strategies. Strategy 1 may be pick a farm, right? Pick a geographic location. So I'm going to need to go research, let's say 3 geographic locations. And by December 15th, I need to make a decision which one I'm going for, right? Because strategy 2 is going to be, call Vatsana, develop the postcard to be sent out on, January 3rd to the farm. Strategy 3 out of that is going to be, now I need to develop the content that's going to go on that card to give to Vatsana, right? So some of this is going to be like, it goes step by step by step. I need to pull the mailing lists, all the labels out of this. When do I need to get the mailing list out of Bright? So this is where, again, you take kind of a complex task maybe that you haven't been doing, or a project you have been doing, but you want to improve on. And this is where we kind of add. And again, this is where the strategies turn into calendar items, right? Because again, show me your success, show me your calendar. It's going to wind up manifesting itself into your calendar if it's really that important. Because again, these projects that are going to become wishes instead of projects if they don't make it onto your calendar. So any feedback on projects you guys are looking at implementing into your business? Go for it.
Just being more social, like engaging with people. in any way possible.
Okay.
I think is something. I need to work.
Okay.
I mean, I do it a lot at soccer, in the neighborhood, walking the dog, but like I need to be more intentional.
Okay, and do you mind if I turn this into group therapy?
Mhm.
So how could Jessica be more intentional about being social?
I'm gonna schedule actual like coffee meetings and
Okay.
things like
So,
lunches.
okay. And that's where I would probably, one of my priorities would be being more social, right? And I'm okay with a very vague title like that. So one of the strategies is going to be coffees. Weekly call, like how many coffees do you want to do?
Right.
A week? Okay, so strategy number 1, 3 coffees a week, right? And that's where then that item's going to wind up on your weekly checklist now, right? Your weekly template. What other things can Jessica you do, or any of you guys have advice for Jessica to be more social?
Thought about like Rotary or some kind of club or
What do you think?
I do kids stuff.
Yeah, that's the hard
It's
thing.
all kids all the
Yep.
time. So it's like,
Okay.
turning some more of it into professional interactions.
Okay. And again, I think luckily we have a profession that is ubiquitous, right? Like everyone needs food, water, air, and shelter, right? Like we pimp out shelter all day long. So we've got something that most people need. So what are, you said you do kids things all day long. Like, is there anything with your kids' sports teams that you can do? Like hosting a get together for the sports team.
There's stuff like that I do.
Okay.
But again, it's all like kids. So I
Yeah.
want to have more professional, like sit down one-to-one.
So, okay. The kids kids on your kids' soccer teams, are all of them in your database? So maybe that's priority 2, right? Make sure that I've got all of the kids' soccer people into my database. That you are, and then your marketing plan, which is anyone in my sphere gets a postcard every month. Now you're taking care of some of the professionalism, right? Going to them. Other things being social. What was you guys saying?
No, I was just thinking, I don't know if you do it, like if you're showing up at soccer or whatever, and you're coming from work and you have like a name tag so that people see that, and that might start conversation from people that didn't know that you were, or where, you know,
What those, like,
Yeah.
the shirts or just any of the gear, like sort of, so you're telling everyone without telling everyone. What you do.
So do you want to order those shirts before soccer season or after soccer season? Right? So this is where a lot of it sounds simple and stupid, but some of these things are literally like order 5 3/4 zips, right? Or whatever you wear, right? Like order them, right? Like just,
Or hats.
yep.
or,
And they
you know,
got to be
whatever.
ordered by
Right.
such and such date.
I have my hoodies, my
Yep.
and stuff too.
Yep.
I see you in next year.
It's easier for guys.
It is, I agree,
Right.
because the girls' stuff is not that, but maybe like for, just have like a wind, you know, something
Yeah.
easy that you
You go to
could
the
wear,
side games, do you wear a hat?
a baseball cap, yeah,
Nothing?
a scarf.
Not the basic, Nike dry fit hat, nothing?
Could you, have you talked to OBGC? Could you sponsor one of the teams and get your name on the back of your kid's jersey?
That sounds expensive.
Well, how much is it?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, and this is where,
How
Yeah.
about setting up like a mom's night out, a wine night at
I
your
know, I
house?
need to.
Something like that. I feel like,
I was thinking. about
being moms is stressful. I get it, just like you're always working, you need time away from the kids. So have a mom night, wine night.
I always notice that you finally get to know the parents of the sports team when the team's done.
Yeah,
Like so if you did something at the beginning of the season, so that the parents could start getting to know each other, I mean, that way,
See, I'm in a
You
group
build that
text with all the parents
community.
from football.
what's that?
I
I'm
like
on a
that.
group text with all the parents from football. We stay social all year round, even though football season has been over.
Yep.
That's the way to stay in contact with them at least.
Yep.
Now it's
There's
trying to
some
scale up,
little,
to try to
like,
get to the other age groups.
calendar that you could make and hand out for everybody to, that's a magnet or something that people could put the games, or, I don't know, just some sort of little marketing material that's meant for the teams, that they're gonna skip on their bridge or whatever.
Yep. All right, so you're off the hot seat. Good job. But thank you for sharing. Anyone else have a project that they've got in mind that they want to throw into the think tank?
Well, I want to do like once a quarter, like Popeyes for past clients.
Okay.
And I definitely want to start a monthly emailers and funding to my neighborhood.
Okay. Are these projects you're doing now or these ones you
These
want?
are all projects I want to actually set in place.
Okay, and that's,
I
yep,
actually put it on the calendar, like you said, and execute this month. And this month I'm gonna do that, this month I'll do those.
Yep.
So,
and and Gio's heard my speech about this too before,
he
but
chews me out every week, so.
but I look at quarterly goals, right? Like, so if you are going to implement those 3 new things, like just do those 3 things. Because once, they call this like the flywheel. Once you can get a project going, then all it needs is a tap to keep going because you're
Yeah.
already in rhythm. You know how to do it.
Well, that's the plan. I don't plan to like I said, I want to do like one Popeye quarter.
Yep.
Just to pass clients. The one, monthly mailer, kind of keep it simple and then build on it.
And then if you can roll out this plan for 3 months, usually then it's self-sustaining, and then you can add new
Yeah.
things in. But we tend to, with this business, there's a shiny object, there's something easier. Someone's doing something on Facebook, I'm gonna go do that, and we drop our important projects. So that's the reason why it's really good to make sure you put this in writing, because it's your commitment to yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason why I'm having you guys write a lot of this stuff out, is because if it's just in your thoughts, it's easy to go away. Something's going to clutter it out of the way. So get this stuff into writing. And that's where kind of the pitch is. After this, you're going to probably have some self-evaluation, go through some of this, start filling this in a little bit more. please set up with me, kind of a consultation. We can kind of work on, just like we did with Jessica, just like, these are my thoughts, this is what I want. And then maybe helping you connect the dots. And you may say, I'm never doing that. Then it just doesn't doesn't matter. I mean, maybe it works for me, it doesn't work for you. Absolutely. But-
We might do it 10 years from now.
Yeah.
There's stuff like that.
And there is stuff, well, like we look at, like we do a business planning for Remax, and there's stuff that like shows up on our boards and for like 5 years, and then finally like it got accomplished this year because it just moved up the priority list. Maybe it was just too soon. And we celebrate it, right? Because there's times when it wasn't like a bad idea. It just, maybe there was other things that were more important in the way. And maybe it was, we just didn't put the effort into planning it correctly, but give yourself credit for when you do things right. So I pitched you guys, set up time with me after this to do a 45-minute kind of getting some of this into template place. Because what you're going to want to do is then get your goals on the front of this. And then you're going to have this monthly, weekly template that you're basically going to just use on a regular and consistent basis, so that you can go back to this document and say, what am I doing? What am I doing this month? What am I doing this week? And then you've got a plan that's executable. All right. Any questions?
Does anybody have, like the database, like any of those online that they love? Yeah, anything keeping track of everything that they, I know that the only good ones are the ones you use, but I've yet to find one that I just love yet.
I love Contaction, so
I did.
I bought
too.
out. I like it.
Follow up.
It wasn't the cheapest, but it
Follow
wasn't
up
bad.
Yeah, I switched over to Real Geeks. Follow Up Boss.
So CRM wise, follow up boss. Yep.
It has an amazing app. And then you can do everything from, which, that for us, like if we depend just on like desktop, we never have time.
Yeah. that's- that's usually
And I
fine.
think that like their app is probably one of the better ones out there.
They
It is-
have to have an app.
Yeah.
Yeah, pass
definitely.
it.
It's a little pricey, but they have everything. Like, you can do video, you can do text, you can do dialers, you can do everything. So.
Mine's desk
Joe,
too, but
Yeah,
it
I
just-
Joe, what was the name that you just said? I couldn't hear what Mario said.
Follow up boss is the CRM he's using.
And
The
again,
app is really
going
good.
back to Such like basic old.
Thank you.
Who was it that said something? Maybe it was even Tucker and the one thing like just simple sometimes the best thing. Like as long as you use
I mean,
it.
it
Yeah.
just depends what you're trying to do
Yeah.
with it. 'Cause all you want is somewhere to keep your names. Just get like, I don't know, what's that, $25 or $75 a year one?
If you just want to put your name, you boost.
Yeah, she's boosh.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're trying to do like
Real
more
juggler
complex,
is like 95
that's
bucks a
what I
year.
was thinking of. But if you're trying to do like, intricate things and texting and seeing when people are opening your stuff, you gotta pay for something.
Yeah.
And like I said,
Yeah.
for me, like it comes down to the app because most of the stuff I'm doing is on the road. So, and then when I get back to the computer, I'm not like, let me put it in hold.
Right.
Yeah, and it depends on your workflow, right? Like if you're a desktop person or a phone person, kind of how you work best. It depends on, then I'd pick a CRM that has a really good app, right? If I'm not doing a lot of CRM stuff on my phone, then I may not need to go that route. Other questions? All right, guys. Thank you all very much. Thanks for those viewing
Thank you.
on Zoom. And for those of you guys here, yeah,
So there are like 4 of them, right? 4 business planning sessions. Is that just so everybody can go or can like we kind of go to all 4?
you can go to all 4 if you want to be
This is-
tortured by listening to me talk for 2.5 hours. But yeah, you can,
If it's like, the collaborative
Yeah.
discussion thing.
and we're going to set up what we, first quarter, actually in January, we're going to do a roundtable where we kind of go back through this idea funnel and kind of get some of this stirred back up. You know, but this session really is supposed to meant to help give you the structure behind that too. But yeah, you can come to all four if you'd like. But you don't need to. Yeah. All right, guys,
Thank
thank
you.
y'all.